So having just completed my first run through of Starfield, I thought it would be time to do kind of a proper review, proper in inverted commas, because I'm not a professional reviewer, but I do like to share my opinions, mainly so that I can give you, the venerable listener, an idea of whether you should spend your money or time invested in playing this game, what sort of kind of experience it is. And I guess the headline would be that Starfield it's definitely worth playing. It's a really good game, and I was very surprised with how good it was. And also, it's a game where it's greater than the sum of its parts. So if you take each individual bit of Starfield and were to review it by itself, you'd say, well, that's all right or maybe good. But when you plunk them all together, it becomes something much, much better and turns into probably, for me, definitely a Game of the Year contender, if not Game of the Year. I mean, it depends what the new Call of Duty is like, and this will be vying for that place with something like Harry Potter's Hogwarts game, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. So let's take a step back. So what is Starfield? Well, it's set in the future, and it's a science fiction space role-playing game, RPG, action role-playing game, where the focus is on gunfighting and space fighting, in spaceships, exploration, massive story quests. This is a Bethesda game, so there are, I wouldn't be if there's hundreds of quests. So you have the main storyline that you can work your way through to get to the end, but there's also dozens and dozens and dozens of side quests that you can do. And then there's things like everything from simple fetch missions to really in-depth where you're an undercover spy in a different organisation. So there's lots and lots and lots of things to do. The closest thing I could probably describe it to in kind of minute-to-minute gameplay is actually Destiny. Because, and I know it's had a bit of criticism for this, about the fact that you fast travel everywhere. So what that means is, when you're, say, on a planet, and you want to take off, you get into your spaceship, and you don't fly the spaceship to orbit. You fast travel, and you're in orbit, and then you can do space combat and do other stuff. And then when you want to go somewhere else in that system, say to a moon or another planet, you fast travel there. you don't fly there. And then when you want to go to another system, you fast travel there as well. And then you're fast travelling in a very similar way to Destiny. When you would go up to an area and it would say, right, enter the starport, and you would be in the starport, and then it would say go up to, I can't remember what it's called, but was there an orbiting station, or there was somewhere where that big globe was, and you would get into your spaceship and you would go off. In fact, the animations for the spaceships taking off and landing are pretty similar, and you would go to that. But it's really good. It's a bit like that. Imagine Destiny, but with space combat, simple space combat as well. And if we roll it back as well, compared to Destiny, as far as the gunplay goes, I think the gunplay is excellent in this. It's really good. We haven't got like the VAT system or anything like that from Fallout 4. This is just straight gunplay. There's lots of different guns you can use, from snipers to shotguns to energy weapons. There's grenades, there's mines, there's swords that you can run around with. You've got this jetpack, so you can bounce around to make things very different. And it really kept me involved. And also the space combat, once your ship is more powerful, is really, really good as well. Okay, so graphics-wise, I think it looks great. It's almost up there with Cyberpunk, almost. People can compare these games, and it's fair enough to compare them. I think Cyberpunk has the edge, but it doesn't have as much content as this. And also, I'd say that Cyberpunk is definitely a sexier game than Starfield. And if you've played Cyberpunk, you'll know what I mean. Sounds great as well. Controls are great. It took me 100 hours to finish my first playthrough, and that wasn't doing probably 2/3 of the game I haven't done, but I spent a lot of time wandering around, obviously making videos and building outposts and stuff like that. And so the bits that make up the game is you've kind of got the story quests, and sometimes these are really good, but sometimes they're also the weakest part, because they can be very fetch questy, where it's right, go and see this person to do this job, and you go and see them and they go, oh right, yeah, I'll help you with that, but only if you help me with this. So you have to wander off and do something else. Sometimes what you've got to do can be quite interesting. It like turns into a stealth mission or an undercover mission. But the best ones are the ones where you start shooting people and having gunfights, because that's always fun. There's also the base building or outpost building, which is mainly used to harvest resources, but there's quite a lot of structures you can make. In your first run through though, you don't really need it at all. Similarly with the crafting, there is a whole system for crafting different types of additions for your spacesuits and weapons, but I didn't really do any of it at all in my first playthrough. And then you have the exploration. So outside of the story quest, you can simply go to planets or moons, and as long as they're not a gas giant, you can land and you can start wandering around, surveying the planet with your scanner. And on all of the planets, there's like abandoned facilities, and these abandoned facilities might be really abandoned. There might just be a few robots that will take you on, or there could be things like pirates there or miners there who will either be friendly or won't be friendly depending on what decisions you've made through. And actually that is a very enjoyable part of the game, I found, just wandering on a planet, go, oh, what's that over there, unknown, and you wander over there and you get involved in a firefight and you make your way through the building and you clear it out and do it that way. There are a few bugs, of course. I've had a few where it crashes, but not that many. Nothing game breaking as well. And there's been a few things where I play missions and I think, oh, this has been borrowed from another game, but it's all done very well. What's very cool as well about Starfield is the way that it handles New Game Plus. Now, I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to give away any spoilers, but let me just say that the way that this game approached New Game Plus, so when you finish the game, what happens next, it makes you want to keep on playing and changes the game quite a bit as well, so that it can make you want to keep on playing. And you're not just replaying the same thing. Things change in the universe when you replay. I'm not going to say anything else, but if you get that far, you'll know what I'm talking about. So to sum everything up about Starfield, it's definitely worth playing. If you look at the footage and think, this looks quite good, I'm definitely interested in this. You should definitely have a go, especially as it's on Game Pass, isn't it? I know it's not on PlayStation, but so if you've got Game Pass, you can get it for Xbox and PC for a very, very reasonable monthly cost. As I say, each bit is good, but not great. I'd say maybe the gunplay is great, but when you add them together, the quests and the storylines and the exploration and the base building and the ship combat, when it all comes together, it's very impressive, very immersive, and very, very enjoyable. So there we go. Starfield for me, I think it's probably going to be my game of the year. But what do you think? Put your questions and comments down below, and of course, I'll see you again soon.